From the mountaintops to the ocean floor, I'm gonna spread my wings, so just watch me soar.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm Farah and this is Inspirational TV. Domestic violence and domestic abuse is thankfully talked about a lot more today than it was in the past. Thankfully, a lot of that is to do with domestic violence survivors sharing their stories and information. And today's guest, Julie Locke, is doing just that. This topic of domestic violence is so important for all of us to know more about. Us knowing more about it means that we can help someone that's potentially in a really difficult situation. Please let's welcome Julie Locke to today's episode. Julie, thank you so much for being here today. I'm so grateful to have this conversation with you. And you're more than welcome. We've discussed, out off camera, that obviously today's topic is not an easy one to discuss, domestic violence and domestic abuse. And I know that this is something that you've gone through in the past. Would you be okay to share some of your story with us?
Certainly.
Yeah.
It's something I do all the time to help raise awareness, because basically if we don't talk about it, it's going to keep hidden, and that's one of the biggest problems really. My abuse was before I became a Muslim.
Okay.
But I still share it within the Muslim community, because domestic abuse isn't restricted to one religion, one culture, one race.
Yeah.
It's throughout everything.
Yes.
So my ex-husband, we had been friends for many years. I met him in my first job.
Okay.
And we used to bump into each other and everything like that. And then one day I bumped into him and we exchanged numbers, and he just constantly wanted to talk, everything like that, and it was what I now know as love bombing.
Right, I've never heard of that. What does that mean?
When they are constantly throwing affection and attention at you, it's the initial charm stage, and without even thinking, he was in my house the same day we exchanged numbers. I mean, I'm not ashamed to say, at the time, as I said, I wasn't Muslim, so I wasn't, it wasn't a marriage.
Yeah,
he was in relations before,
yeah.
And things. But from the first night, that was it. He never left.
Right.
He literally was there every day. He would make excuses because he worked early shifts in the morning. Then he would come around the next minute and be like, "Oh, I'm really sorry, it's really late. You don't mind if I stay again?"
Yeah.
And it was things like that, and without even realising, they're getting
moved in.
It moved in.
Yeah.
And then I think the first time he hit me was the back of his hand. We hadn't even had any bad discussions or anything at that time, and he claimed it was by accident. I asked him to leave, I walked away, but then I made the mistake of letting him do the love bombing again.
Okay.
So, but this time, we weren't supposed to be in a relationship. This time he said, "Can you store some of my things into your house, please? I've got to move, I've got nowhere to put it." And then the day he turned up with his things, he said, "I can't move into my place, can I stay at yours?" And I hadn't realised how common these little things are with women.
It's like a pattern that we need to look out for.
Yeah, and there are a lot of people that will fall for these little things. So, people sort of go, "Oh, this has happened. Can you help me?" And things like that. And he was only supposed to stay 2 weeks. And again,
how long did he end up staying for?
Until he went to prison.
Okay. Until years later.
It was probably maybe a year or so later, and that because he started to charm again. He was cooking dinner and he was doing all these really nice things and everything, and without even realising, he was then picking. When I was at home and he was at work, he was phoning constantly. And his reasoning for phoning constantly was, "Oh, you're always on my mind. I miss you so much. I can't get you out of my head. I just want to hear your voice again." Yeah. But later I realised that it wasn't. It was so he knew who I was with, what I was doing. If I didn't answer my house phone, where was I? Yeah. And things. So it actually started really early. He started doing little things, to picking arguments and things, and it started getting worse when one day he moved the furniture around in my living room, which sounds very strange. But we had a TV one place and the sofa another, and he deliberately moved it so that the TV was by the window.
Okay.
So that if I was looking at the telly, he had a reason to accuse me of looking at people out of the window.
It's so interesting.
Real little tactics, and that's how it became more and more. And you know, it's
Finding excuses to
finding
start
ways
a fight
to start.
and
Yeah, exactly. To start accusing me of things. And then one day he came home from work, and he came flying through the front door and knocked me flying. Sent my son upstairs, started smashing up the house, accused me of having my neighbour in my house. I saw the van, it was outside, and as soon as I get to the house it's gone. Well, it's my neighbour, he might be outside.
he parks it there every day.
He parks it there to drop stuff off in the music, he's not allowed to park outside properly.
Yeah.
And it was severe. He dragged me by my hair from one room to the next, booted me with steel toe caps, hit me with a hammer,
Oh my God.
missed my kneecap by millimetres. I actually had a bruise here, a red circle here, for probably about 10 years. It never went. It took a long time
Because
for
of
that
the pressure,
mark.
the level of pressure.
Yeah, it was like, I mean, he could have broke my kneecap. He literally missed me by that. I had a broom broke over my head. I have scars still on my head,
Really extreme.
on my scalp here. Yeah, and that's not even the worst. He made me strip. He smelt my underwear. Put his fingers inside me to see. Said I can smell a man.
Oh, yeah.
And all this, and then chucked me out in my back garden naked.
Oh my God.
You know, there you go. The neighbours can all see you now.
For what you are, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Oh my
And that, and
goodness.
then he finally let me in. In the meantime, my son's upstairs.
I was gonna say.
My
see
son,
this.
yeah.
And how many was a child
He
at that
was 6, something like
age?
7,
Really young, really
something like that,
young.
maybe 7, a bit older, something about 7, I think.
Yeah.
And then he dragged me in and sent me upstairs, and I was so bruised and swollen that I could hardly move. But yet he still wanted to be intimate, and he saw it. He called it make-up sex.
Oh my God. Same day that this
Same
is
day.
all this happening.
Same day. I can't move.
Oh.
I'm swollen. I'm in pain, but he still wants to. It's
And so after it reaches that kind of situation,
yeah.
how did you find the strength to leave
It took
and
a
to
long
actually
time.
stay away
I didn't. I actually went back after
after
that.
that?
Yeah. And it's not uncommon.
Exactly.
It's actually, I think majority of women, it's between 17 and 30 times
That they leave.
they leave and come back before they finally leave.
So the final time that you left,
Yeah.
how did you
I was
have the strength to
pregnant-
stay away?
I was pregnant with my daughter,
Okay.
and he pulled me down the stairs backwards.
And since then, after all that,
Mm.
you've been motivated to set up an organisation called
First Step DV. It
First
took
Step Domestic Violence.
it's still really in its early stages.
What's your vision with that?
A vision to run support groups for Muslims and non-Muslims, and for brothers as well, not just for women, because there's not really much out there for male victims. There are perpetrator programs for the men to try and adjust and change and everything, but there's not many actual programs for men that suffer. You know, so ideally I would love to be able to offer something for them as well. Really.
And I know it's very early stages at the moment, but if there's anyone watching that thinks I want to get involved, what's the best way to get involved with, the organisation, or even get in contact with you?
You can find me on Facebook, First Step DV. I'm also on Instagram, same thing, it's just First Step DV. So,
and if there's someone watching, this interview today and recognises a lot of things that you've described, what's your best advice to them?
Go and seek help, and don't be embarrassed if it takes you a while either. Even if it takes you 10 times to go and seek help.
Yes.
I think because my another advice I'd like to give is to friends and family actually.
Yes, please do.
And that because quite often, we feel like you want your best interests are there, but you want to force them to leave. And then you get to the point where, you know what, you're not leaving, don't talk to me anymore.
Yes.
I can't help you or anything like that. Best thing you can do is say, I'm here to support you when you are ready. I am here. Even if it takes you months, years, whatever, don't close the door, because closing the door makes it even harder for them to leave.
I love that you said that, because I think what you've just said is typical.
Yeah.
We get, people get frustrated and you don't understand why this person keeps going back.
Yeah.
And so you start to shift the blame to them and think, well, it's up to you if you want to stay. So I love the fact that you've said, the advice that you're giving is just so...
when you have left, you've only just begun.
Yes, because then you have to rebuild everything.
But yeah, and that's another thing that families don't understand. They think that as soon as you've left, you should be happy now. That's it, you're done, you've left. Get out, you should be able to get on with things.
Yes.
But it's not. That's when your journey starts.
And I think we spoke recently, and you were saying there's even a grieving process, and there's elements that you will miss of that person. Could you tell us a little bit about the psychology of that?
That what families don't understand is that you are going to miss the person. You loved that person. You may still even love that person. You had an idea of a future with that person. They may even be the father of your children. You could have children with them as well. So you have got a connection, and that. So you'll go through different stages of grief. It is like grieving. It's a loss. Yes. It's a loss of something. You could be angry. You could be angry at them. You could be angry at yourself. Then you could have a sadness. There's so many different stages, and quite often family will dismiss it. And my answer is you have to allow yourself to go through those emotions, because if you don't go through those emotions, you're not going to heal. You're not going to grow. It's important that you allow yourself to go through those emotions. Missing them is normal. It is normal. It doesn't make you a bad person to miss the person that abused you. Yes. It's part of your healing. Once you've got past the missing stage, you will then get through the bitterness stage and the anger stage and all those sort of things. But you've got to allow yourself to get through those stages.
Perfectly said. Who or what inspires you or keeps you motivated today, after everything you've been through?
Today, my children, and trying to help others. I was trained to be a facilitator for the Freedom Programme, and then for Keys to Freedom through Bromley Women's Aid, and everything. And when I've run them, when the women come to you and say how much you've inspired them to want to go, to leave and start anew and everything, that is one of the things that keeps me going. It's the reward for helping them. And it's not just the victims that sometimes approach you, it's the families. And that because they say, wow, I never saw it like that.
Exactly. Because even myself, I think I said it to you on the phone, I would never, before speaking to you, I don't think I would have understood someone going through that and then missing the person. Like, I didn't understand how to, so I'm the kind of person, I'm really honest, that would have been really quick, really judgmental, and rather just stop speaking to the person than see them keep going through it. So already you're teaching so many of us to kind of change their approach and understand this topic a lot more than we currently do. It's not as black and white as it seems.
It's not, and too often in our community now, it's families think about how it's going to impact them and how the community is going to look at them instead of how it's impacting their child.
There's that element of it as well.
You need to think about how it's impacting your child. Your child needs you there to support them, and that it doesn't matter what somebody else is thinking or anything like that. It's your child that needs your support, and maybe your grandchildren or that sort of thing. They're the ones that need your support. 100%.
Thank you so much. This conversation, like I said, is such. Thankfully, I think it is discussed a lot more than it was in the past.
It is a lot.
There's still a long way to go.
Oh, way.
There's so much for us to know about. But I'm so glad that we've had this, short conversation today to at least get the conversation going. Before you leave, we're going to have we're going to change gears a little bit, and I'm just going to ask you some quick personal questions just to get to know you a bit better. So, how often do you play sports?
Not often enough.
Fair enough. What do you wish you knew more about?
That's a difficult one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a difficult one.
Anything?
I mean, I've been Muslim for 6 years, so I'm still a newbie.
Yeah.
So I'm still learning a lot more about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's something I wish I knew more about. But
I think that's all of us, to be honest.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'd like to have more understanding of different cultures and things, because I know that would definitely benefit me with my work.
Yeah. Yeah. Makes
So
sense.
that
Makes
would
a lot
be
of
something
sense.
I definitely wish I knew a lot more about.
Fantastic. Tea or coffee?
Depends on my mood.
Today?
Tea.
Tea. And there are 2 types of people in this world.
Okay.
What are the 2 types?
Oh, don't know. I couldn't, pessimist and non-pessimist, I don't know. Again, for me, what type of person, it depends on the day. Sometimes I like to see the good in everything, even in difficult times. And then other times I just can't see past the clouds.
That was the end of another episode of Inspire Her TV. In the comments below, share with us what your biggest takeaway was from today's show. Until next time, stay inspired.